Order of the new Windsor Town Council meeting for July 2nd, 2024. If everyone would rise and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our meetings go by an agenda. They are recorded. Anyone wishing to have something placed on the agenda for council discussion should have had it to the town hall by 3 o'clock on the previous Wednesday of the month. Anyone wishing to speak tonight that's not on the agenda, we ask you to sign the sign-in sheet over here. Ready? Approval of minutes from the June 5th, 2024 town council meeting. They have been emailed out by Dana. Do I hear a motion for approval or amendment?
I'll make that motion. Approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second to approve the minutes from the June 5th, 2024 town council meeting. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carry. Mayor's report. Another busy month like everybody else. Attended the town council meeting, work session, musical in the main meetings. Attended a meeting before the work session with Delegate Eric Boucher. Told him what our issues were. Thanked everybody that was in attendance and see whether or not he can help us with some funding issues down the road. Attended the MML chapter dinner in Mount Airy. Booked the bands for a musical in the main. Oh, one thing I forgot to add in there. Completed the special event for State Highway Administration. Dave, you got that copy, did you?
I did.
Okay, so that is done. That was done super fast due to the fact that usually I have to go to the sheriff's office and they hold on to it for a couple days until the right person signs it. Same way with state police. This time I went to the sheriff's office. The guy signed it right away, took it to Maryland State Police. He says, "Oh, I've never signed one of these before." So I said, "Well, go ahead." I said, "You want a photo op?" He said, "No." So I had it done within a half hour, and then I emailed it to Dave. Emailed it to State Highway, and I would think it was out on a Saturday, and then on Monday they got it back to me. So that's good for Dave to go for the one-day beer permit. So that's all been taken care of. Helped line up speakers for history, Shaken and Stirred on July 11th. Each quarter, the Historical Society of Carroll County has an event called History, Shaken and Stirred. They have picked New Windsor as a featured town in July, and it's on July 11th at Covenant Spirits, 118 Main Street, Westminster, from 6 to 8. Speakers start around 6:15 and last 3 to 5 minutes each. And I think we have about 5 speakers speaking on different things about the history of the town. Met with town manager Dye a couple of times, submitted my report for the town newsletter on time. So thank you very much. Received notification, I think that's the first time since 2009, probably. Let's see. Received notification that our Sustainable Communities application had been approved. The designation will last 5 years and will expire on February 19th, 2029. Voted for the MML officers for this year. Completed and submitted the Community Legacy Grant application for building at 211 High Street. I want to thank Dana and Mike Reynolds for their valuable assistance. And the highlights down there are the outcomes. And a lot of this is based on a report of recommendations from the Commission to Advance and Strengthen Firefighting and Emergency Medical Services in Maryland. So there were so many different fire department and EMS agencies that were part of this report. So when there's that many, it's almost like each individual letter of support from all these agencies when I'm taking these numbers and these outcomes from that recommendation. So that is my report, and hopefully we'll hear in a month or two about the grant application. I think it was very good. Again, I want to thank Mike and Dana for getting that. They had to find the deed to the 211, which was not easy, but now we have it, and we have it available. So that is my report. Council Committee, Public Works, Councilman Huffman.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Public Works highlights for the past month. Well, we've all been dealing with the intense heat And this has provided Public Works with a slight reprieve from the busy grass putting mowing season that they've been having. Although the weeds don't seem to mind the heat, the mowing does continue to ensure the town remains looking its best. Public Works took advantage of the break and had the mowers serviced and repaired. Public Works has coordinated with a tree trimming company to have several trees taken down around town. You may have noticed the tree in front of Fountain Park on Main Street has been taken down. That opens the view into the park nicely, in my opinion. Public Works collected yard waste twice in June per the schedule. Check the town newsletter for specifics and the schedule. And Public Works has been working on an insect infestation issue at the Main Street Park. Ants continue to get inside the electrical box and interrupt operation of the contacts that control the dusk to dawn lights. So if you see the flag not illuminated up at the park, it's most likely because these ants are getting in there. The guys have been in there working and taking that apart, trying to get them out of there, but we've now contacted an exterminator to help with the problem up there, so we're trying to get it resolved. The Planning Commission, as you know, we did not meet in June, but we did meet tonight instead of that June meeting that you all attended. Thank you for doing that. As Chairman Schultz said, the next scheduled meeting is Monday, July 22nd for that. And some councilwoman highlights for myself. I attended many of the meetings that the mayor had mentioned, the Town Council and Planning Commission meetings, the Music on the Main meeting, the MML business dinner meeting, and attended the meeting with Town and Delegate Boucher to discuss the needs of the town.
Thank you, sir. Water and sewer, Councilman Hall.
All right, so there was no leaks in water or sewer in the last month of June, but there was an issue on the 27th. So unfortunately, there was a fire, which resulted in the fire department pulling water from one of the hydrants. This paired with the water, the Main Street having the temporary line caused a reduced pressure. So Wayne and contacted the fire department and worked with them to work out a plan where they will be able to pump water for their trucks at a location that doesn't impact this temporary line. So that should be resolved going forward. As you all know, the Main Street project is moving along. There is currently 6 laterals that need to be replaced after they were working in there, but it is steadily moving along. So that's my report for this month.
All right, thank you. No leaks, that's a good thing.
It's always a good thing.
Public safety and health, Councilman Cornick.
Yes, good evening. Thank you all for attending. I had several meetings and events that I attended over the past month, or month of June. I attended the joint MML meeting between Carroll County and Frederick County, as others have mentioned, on 6/13. Meeting included discussions of the upcoming MML conference. I also attended the Strawbridge Shrine Colonial Days Festival, which we've done for the last several years, and that's always good to do. Good food, learn a little bit every time I go. I'm trying to get my certification in blacksmithing. That's a joke, but I did have fun learning a little bit about that. And as I mentioned, I attended the MML Summer Conference in Ocean City on 6/23. While I was there, I attended multiple meetings. The opening day registration and check-in. Got a chance to see some people from last year, along with the welcome reception and general session grand opening. A keynote speaker there was Governor Moore. The classes I attended to fulfill my Maryland Municipal League, I forgot the name of it.
Academy for
Academy,
Excellence.
thank you, the Academy classes, thank you. Were Artificial Intelligence and Local Government, Maryland's Open Meeting Act, Navigating the Maze. It's a guide to securing state funding, which I thought was pretty informative for grants and for municipalities. They also had an ethics class, which was an elective, or actually an academy core. Also attended the Leadership in Race and Equity, which is an elective, and attended the closing sessions, the MML Main Street event, which was an event for where the multiple cities and towns got a chance to highlight things about them, Maryland towns and cities around the state. So that was pretty cool to go to. And last but not least, the municipal budgeting session was probably my most informative class that I attended. So that one was on the last day. It was on Wednesday. So at the end of the session, I've got 2 more classes to fulfill the academy requirements, and I'll have a big graduation party next year at the MML. Also wanted to mention that I had a chance to meet, and I hope I get his name right, because I thought this was almost a little bit of a highlight. Is it Fred Green, who we had just recently approved his company to do the tank lining? He actually gave me a little bit of an overview of what they're going to do in terms of the tank lining and how the process works. Really informative. I mean, he had this, Wayne, I'm sure you know what the process looks like, but I didn't know. So it was, he kind of went step by step how they go through and pull this liner through the line, the water line, and then it hardens. I was all ears when I was watching that, so that was pretty good to see. So upcoming events are, again, I'll be attending the Opioid Prevention Coalition meeting on 7/10. That's this coming Wednesday. So that's my meeting for the month, and if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you.
Yep.
Economic Development, Councilman Schultz.
Good evening, everyone. All the same meetings as everybody else. The only addition for me is, of course, I attend the Human Services Programs of Carroll County meeting and executive committee, so I have nothing special to report going on right now. Carroll County Economic Development Group had a booth at the Maryland Municipal League's conference in Ocean City, and tourism funded giveaways from Carroll County organizations and businesses. So, Kevin, did you get to go to that booth at all?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
They had the Carroll County Downtowns had a booth in the Main Street section.
I did see that.
And they were giving things away.
Yes.
And another highlight from last month's meeting we met in June is that Carroll Tourism is also funding a professional photographer who will go around to all the municipalities and take photos that will be turned over to the municipality. So when we get those, we can use them for any purposes that's related to town business. So, I'll work with the town staff to set up a folder for those. And I know that Dana's got a couple of other photo things that she's working on, so maybe we can just make a photos folder. A couple of commerce events that are coming up, chamber events. There's PM Connections the end of this month, which is where businesses can learn about other businesses. And then Launch Carroll, which is just specifically for young professionals, and it's open to non-members as well as members, and that's on the 31st. I just wanted to make everyone aware about a couple of funding sources for businesses in Carroll County. The Miller Center at the Community College has 2 scholarship funds. One can support up to 75% of courses and workshops that are related to business degrees, and another one is an entrepreneurship scholarship that funds courses and can also provide $5,000 for businesses. I met with Dana and Kim last month. Thank you both for the piece in the newsletter. We spent some time on the website, continuing to update the town businesses and organizations. I think we've got that pretty cleaned up at this point and pretty accurate. And then they put a piece in the newsletter about and for businesses, and we're going to be doing that every issue, probably theme-based each time. So thanks to both of you for doing that.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. Michelle, we don't usually call on you, but you went to MML
yes.
Summer Conference. You like to comment anything? No, you don't have a report, but.
No, I don't have a report, but that never stops me from talking, so it'll be okay. Like Kevin, I found things very interesting. I did not go to AI because it terrifies me, but I went to the open meetings one. And you would think that having done all of this for so long, nothing would be new, but there's always something new or something that makes you go, have we done that right? So I think we have. We're good. I did that one, and I went to
the ethics one where the poor speaker, who is a friend of mine, they had terrible trouble with the sound.
Yes.
And they almost blew us all out of the room, but it got better. And I also went to, what's the other thing we do here? Public Information Act, and that was very interesting. Also, I downloaded all 3 of those major ones that y'all would be interested in, and I sent them to, no, I haven't sent them to Gary, I sent that to DRRA, but I have because they put it all on the website now, and you just can download it, and I had them all emailed to me. I have not printed them because some of the, they're PowerPoints, and so some of them are 58 pages long. But if anybody is interested in getting those, I will be more than happy to, to email them to you and let you print them for
I'd like to
58
see those
pages.
since I
Yeah.
can't take the requests, if you could send those to me.
Yes, and there's always stuff going on with the public information. The law itself doesn't change, but you hear other people's, you've all been, other people's stories and how they handle things, and I always find it quite interesting and bring home lots of free pens and notepads.
There you go. That's the main thing.
That's what it's all about.
Didn't get any chip clips.
Oh, we got a ton of them.
Actually, I think Steve got a bunch of them and already has given them away.
Thank you.
The swag this year was pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, there's always some good swag. I got some little portable fans that are kind of cool. I don't know if you saw those.
I got,
All right, town manager's report.
Deadline.
1 hour, people.
Good evening, everybody. A couple things here. The 1000 Green Valley Road property MOU for well drilling and the Windsor building permit update. These should be separate items, however, Springdale Prep is reluctant to move forward with the MOU until the fees are established for the Windsor building permit, which those who might not know is located at the 500 Main Street campus. Okay. At the June work session, council voted to approve resolution 061724, which we're going to officially adopt here in a little while. And under new business tonight, we're going to do that. That established the non-residential water and sewer connection fees. A detailed letter was prepared outlining the EDU calculations, water and sewer connection fees, and additional fees for a Windsor building permit. Letter was emailed to Springdale Prep School folks on June 18th, and as of today, we've not had a response from the school. Main Street 31 water main project, Mid-Atlantic remains on schedule. The twin sewer house connection issue at 415, 417 Main. After 2 attempts, we still have not had any response from the owners, so we need to try to somehow get that worked out in order to do work on the private property. And just a note, this project requires daily attention and time from Public Works when the contractor is working. It's been time consuming and challenging for Public Works scheduling wise with all the other things they got going on. But they're doing a good job handling all that and still keeping things moving. The water and wastewater capacity study. I received clarification from our engineer GMB to Councilman Huffman's question at the last meeting. It was when the water and wastewater capacity study was approved. The question was, will the capacity study provide the town with the future wastewater capacity demand, i.e. the 250,000 gallon per day number currently shown in our master plan and county documents? That number seems high, and the town needs to determine a real accurate future wastewater demand number in order to move forward with our preliminary engineering report of the possible upgrade for the wastewater plant and a decision to expand or not. So GMB's response is basically yes. That question is that the capacity study is proposed to answer that. And by what it's going to do is review the committed and planned development within the town's growth areas and comparing this to existing usage to determine capacity needed. So we'll determine if that 250,000 gallon per day number is the right number or something less is more appropriate. Considerations for, this is still GMB's response, considerations for the Springdale Prep Master Plan and Huff Farm possible annexation will be a big impact on this evaluation. And based on preliminary discussions, the first reaction is that some sort of expansion is needed, but we're not sure how much yet. So that will answer the questions that we're looking for. So I wanted to let you know that. And good news, on the capital projects, the ARPA money status. We had our third staff meeting, last Friday, and happy to report that, all ARPA funds have been spent or obligated, well ahead of the 12/31 deadline, for this year. So, good job. We actually,
Just
looking
spending
at things,
fools.
we actually over obligated some things, which was good in a way because we wanted to make sure we had that. But we just made some adjustments. One change that we did make that I want to bring to council's attention is that at the June council meeting, the water facilities painting was approved for $28,635 and awarded to Barrett and Sons Coatings. This at the time was planned to be ARPA money. We needed to take that out in order to balance out and not go over that. So instead, we're going to pay that from the enterprise fund capital projects. So I'm not sure, do we need a motion to approve that change?
I think it's prudent.
Okay.
Real quick though, would it make sense to use the ARPA funds for that and then just use 28 grand at the end for whatever we go over on that last budget item instead of allocating it now?
We're actually over $32,000 in ARPA spending.
Correct, but the money's still there, is what I'm
So we
saying, like,
pulled 28,000 from that, and then we removed 3,000 some dollars from another project.
Yeah, it was the water supply, with the well drilling with Hydroterra.
Because we weren't sure that if it was, yeah.
Not that thing.
what day does all the money have to be spent by before it has to be
It
returned?
has to be allocated by December 31st, 2024.
Yeah, but there's also like a spend
Everything
by
has to be
date.
spent by 2026,
Okay.
so 2 years, so yeah.
So we got time.
So we have time, yeah. In order to make it clean on the submitting side to the government, it was the easiest thing to remove.
Okay.
So we do have, just so you know, we do have a spreadsheet. I moved it into the folder tonight that has, it's color coded. Dana did a great job of listing all the projects that we spent, and then the totals, and then what we have in the queue, what, for example, what we have left on Blue Ridge, the sewer linings in there, things that are coming up, but it's all been allocated. We should be good to go for reporting. So I guess we do need a motion according to Michelle to, I'm not the one to make the motion.
I'll make the motion to approve $28,635 to Barrett and Sons Coating using EF Capital Projects budget item.
Here a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and second. Any comments or questions? Just moving money around. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So carried.
That's all I have.
Thank you. All right. Public Works Director.
Okay, the MD 31 project is progressing well. We're very satisfied with the results. Just a few things while out in the field that I saw that was interesting. Actually, on High Street, we saw several layers of New Windsor history there in the trench line. There was like a stone road bed. There were bricks, so that was interesting. And I actually took some pictures of that, and they're hard to see, but it was really neat to see out there in the field. The other thing that we're noticing is that the old line that we're removing is very brittle. It's very old, more so in front of Town Hall, actually. So we're very grateful for this project. This is definitely going to save Public Works a lot of time on future headaches of water leaks. As many of you know, most of our water leaks happen on Main and High historically. So this is a very good use of money and a very deserving project of the allocation of that money. Letters will be sent to property owners regarding galvanized private water laterals recommending replacement. we're doing this under the guidance of MDE. They're recommending replacement of those lines due to the health risk associated. And additionally, as the town, we're recommending replacement because those particular lines degrade over time and they're not structurally sound. First Class Mechanical, they're in the process of contacting homeowners on phase 1 to get water meters replaced. It's been brought to the attention of the town several times that there's an interest in leak detection devices or additional flow devices that would be at the cost of the homeowner or business. First Class Mechanical is going to reach out to folks probably while they're coordinating the meter removals. I know in error they reached out to us in an email, and Town Manager Dye directed them to contact the residents directly on the pricing associated with that cost. The interior and exterior painting of the water stations at Hillside and Mainspring are near completion, with only the floor painting remaining. So we're making good progress there. I'm very proud of what we've been able to accomplish at those stations, and we'll take some pictures and show them off in a future council meeting, because it was definitely a project that needed to be completed. Great use of ARPA money on that. Public Works recently completed sampling required by the state every 3 years for lead and copper. The town has always met compliance in the past, and we expect that the new testing results will also meet compliance. We have also received several quotes from vendors for mini splits for some of our water stations. Originally, we were anticipating using ARPA money to fund those projects. I still recommend installation of those to regulate the temperatures due to the sensitive electronics within the facility. So we'll put a bid tab together for a future council meeting. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Just for you and Gary, I've gotten several compliments on Mid-Atlantic from the residents. So one really kind of surprised me that this one individual would have something nice to say about it. But they all the compliments have been, all the comments have been complimentary. They, whatever they need, they address with the homeowners, and they've been real happy with it.
We share that when we hear that stuff with our progress meetings that we have every month with Justin and Bob.
I have a question. Wayne, can we expect First Class, should the citizens expect First Class to be putting in a pressure reducing valve as well? I seem to lost the bubble on that while we are doing that for sure.
As needed, if there's an existing one in place, we're not going to replace it. It would be adequate. But any pressure reducing valves that needs to be installed, they'll be installed, and expansion tanks. So.
And expansion tanks if needed.
If needed.
Okay. They'll make that decision?
Correct.
Okay.
In coordination with me, yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Community Deputy?
Step up to the mic.
Mm-hmm.
Sure it's
All right.
on.
All right, I don't know about the rest of you, but this month flew by. It seemed like that fast. I know you guys had the MML and everything, but relatively good month for us. Between June 5th and July 2nd, we responded to 44 calls for service within the town of New Windsor. Out of those calls for service, 4 were found to be reportable. On 6/12/24 at 4:04 p.m., a fraud was reported in the 400 block of Church Street. The victim advised that she was contacted by someone alleging to be a pastor of a local church. The victim advised due to her close relationship with the pastor, she was convinced to purchase about $800 worth of eBay gift cards before she found it to be fraud. On 6/18/24 at 3:22 p.m., a late reported theft was documented in the 100 block of Church Street 2 individuals walked out of a local business without paying for the food they ordered or tipping the server. One of the individuals was identified and found to be a juvenile. The father was later contacted, who responded. He was actually a former police officer, so that went well. And he ultimately paid the bill and said his son will be going to military school, but I don't know, we'll see. On 6/19/24 at 7:58 a.m., a hit-and-run accident was reported in the 300 block of Main Street. A trash collector was struck by a pickup towing a trailer. His foot was ran over. As he was performing his work duties, the trash collector was transported to Carroll Hospital Center with non-life-threatening injuries. The driver of the pickup truck was identified and charged with failure to immediately stop at a vehicle at the scene of the accident, resulting in injury. On 6/24/24 at 4:57 p.m., an injured deer was found in the 100 block of Green Valley Road. The deputy responded. He ensured he had a safe backdrop and discharged 2 double-aught buckshot rounds, ultimately euthanizing the deer in case there was any noise complaints called in there. There was another accident in town. I just couldn't find it in the reporting system for some reason, but that was up here at High and Main, and the ambulance was actually going to a call. A vehicle turned out in front of it, resulting in a collision. The ambulance was minorly damaged. The vehicle was had to be towed. So some citations were issued there for the driver of the vehicle, not the ambulance, and that was handled. Additionally, National Night Out, Kim's been helping me this year with that, and she's been doing a great job. But it's Tuesday, August 6th, which is coming up, and it's from 6 to 8 p.m. Registration is still open until July 23rd. So everybody listening, July 23rd is your deadline. Any organizations that wish to attend can contact me. We have flyers out. You can contact Town Hall, whatever works best for you. I think we're on par with last year as far as registrations. We have, I think, a dozen right now, but we wound up with a little over 20 last year. I think it was 22 participants, but we're right on par with last year, but I'd like it to be bigger than last year. So I don't know why it just doesn't seem like things are taking off right away, but we're going to keep on working on it and see what we can do there. We're also seeking donations. If anybody's willing to donate, I'd like to get some things for the kids that are extra fun. But you know, the budget only allows for a little bit of that, unless we can get something worked out.
I think we can find something.
All right. Well, I appreciate that.
Talk to Dana.
We have a giant bowling ball set.
Okay. Well,
Do we not?
Yeah, we do.
we can do that, but
Would you like
we
to
do.
use-
So,
The Public Works
I don't know if I wanna share that or not.
This is what I would really like. Intercamp with Cops, we have an obstacle course that is set up for the kids.
Okay.
And I believe it's $800 to rent, $600 or $800. But it's this giant blow-up obstacle course that the kids can go through.
I
compete. Or a bouncy house or something similar. I'd like to put that into the budget as well. But it's just kind of, it's expensive, you know. So.
if they will allow, I can see where I can pull some funds and address that at the next meeting for you.
All right. Well, I will meet with you.
Well, we
soon.
won't have another meeting.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, it'll,
do you want to meet tomorrow maybe and talk about it? And we'll go from there.
we can, I mean, there should be funds in town activities to pull. If you guys make a motion to no more than X amount of dollars, I'm sure we can.
That way Wayne doesn't have to give up his bowling ball.
Yeah.
How much are you looking at, 800, or you don't know?
Should we say 9?
That's sufficient.
Up to 9?
Up to 9. I'll make a motion that we fund up to $900 donation to National Night Out for an activity for kids.
I appreciate
So your second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and second to spend up to $900. Comments or questions? I have a comment. Usually we don't hardly spend anything for National Night Out, so I think this is money well spent for our own town's National Night Out. So,
Thank you, guys.
all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So carried.
Thank you guys for that. Crisis helpline, just wanted to remind everybody, is 410-952-9552. The Carroll County Mobile Crisis Team is open 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. And 988 is a number you can dial for immediate emotional support if you need to get in touch with a counselor or just talk to somebody. Any other questions or concerns?
Time for National Night Out,
6 to 8 p.m.
6 to 8. Thank you.
That's I'm looking forward to it. It was fun last year. It's just It's a lot of work, a lot of work, especially with camp cops going on in July and everything. It's just everything, it comes together. So,
Good job, thank you.
thank you guys.
And the one from West Carroll Rec Council, funnel cake was a big success.
Yes.
Fire chief, no report, treasurer, Dana?
Alrighty, guys. I'm currently reviewing the fiscal year 24 budget. I'll have a whole breakdown at the town council meeting in August. So far, everything is looking really good. Just giving you a heads up. There will be 3 CDs that will be matured by August 7th. They're all 3 on the general fund side. Estimated in interest for those 3, we would make $20,000. So that's not bad. They were all anywhere from a year to 8 months CDs. I'll have more info on these in August. I did peek at some interest rates for CDs. They're not bad, but still, it's a little too early to tell to get into. HR consultant starts July 30th. She'll meet with Gary and I at 9 a.m. and then give a breakdown of what we need. I'll give her all her lovely packets of information, and she'll work remotely for a week and just be in contact with me whenever she needs me. And then last but not least, Music on the Main is accepting applications. We currently have 13 signed up. That's about the same amount that we did last year, and we'll do a good push here the next couple days. So, yeah.
Auditor is still the same, we don't need to,
No, they're all the same. Yeah.
thank you. Water sewer billing clerk?
Not a lot. Newsletters were sent out last Friday because the mayor got his stuff to be on time. Water bills will be sent out next week. I don't know exactly what day next week, but the week of July 8th they'll be sent out.
Thank you.
I have a question. Kim, do we have, we haven't talked about delinquent payments or anything lately. Do we have, is that still an issue?
It is still an issue, but a lot smaller. I can get some numbers for you this week or next week, because right now all the water bills are in review. I'm clearing that up. I'm reviewing all of those. I can certainly get you a delinquent report and dollars.
I think that would be good for the whole council, and it's fine for the next meeting to see that.
So we did have one water turn off, and it was a commercial location due to non-payment.
Thank you. Code enforcement?
Hello. I only had one, or I guess I need one.
Sit down.
Oh, we can pass the mic to you.
I only had one complaint come in June. It was for the improper disposal of cat litter. Apparently they're improperly dumping it and it's causing serious odors in a residential area. So those letters will be going out in the morning. The property owner and the rental unit can also copy the letter. And then I am also working on another property and house that are in town that has a lot of inoperable vehicles and junk and other miscellaneous things. I also have drafted a general letter for inoperable vehicles that are on private property, just more of a notice that we're aware that they have inoperable and expired vehicles on their property, and to see if any residents will amend that on their own prior to having to cite them or violate them with other codes from the town code. That's all I have.
All right, thank you.
So,
Nothing.
1 second. The letter, does that have a list of the citations?
So they're violations more so, and every violation is not going to apply to every town or every residence in town is the problem. So section 127 covers like bulk junk, whereas other code 129 covers abandoned and inoperable vehicles. So it's more so trying to keep track of what exactly is at each residence and how to give them a notice, a general notice is what I'm trying to cover both those codes in one letter to just give a notice, hey, we're aware that you have these things. We're not doing anything about it right now because we really can't, but, with it being on private property. But where, I'm very much aware of what you have here. Let's see if you'll make the attempt to clean some of it up on your own.
But does the letter state that if they do not cause action, that we will escalate?
Yes, the bottom of the bottom of the letter will state that if this, more so if it continues, we will violate them. I can't so much cite them because it's on private property. But a lot of the junk and stuff I'm finding that I can cite maybe for like $100, so we'll see what moves. With the trailers that were up on, a couple that were on up in Atlee Ridge, apparently the blackened one that you ran does not belong to the owner, to which I sent the letter. And then the other one has been removed, so they're being noted that if it comes back on, their fine could possibly increase.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
New business, adopt resolution 06-17-24, establishing non-residential water and sewer connection fees.
You actually voted to adopt this last meeting, but it was done just orally, so we put it into a nice, pretty typed resolution form that I think everybody has, right?
Mm-hmm. All right, so I just need to sign it.
Essentially,
Okay, all right, thank you.
because I want it clear that and you'll notice it takes effect on the day you adopted it, which was the 17th of June.
All right, thank you. Any other new business? Old business, review and discussion of draft employee handbook updates and changes.
Okay, so, the draft handbook was sent to the mayor and council on May 31st, and it's also available in your folders. We've been discussing this for the last couple meetings, and we want to continue to review the handbook. As Dana mentioned, we're waiting for the HR consultant to start on July 30th. What we'd like ideally do as much as we can is have a council's input and a good working draft by that time. Again, one of the biggest changes I mentioned before was in section 8, which is the paid time off, leave of absences. And we added verbiage for part-time employees. For the full-time employees, we're not proposing any changes to amounts of leave time earned, but proposing changes, possible changes or options on the amount of leave time to carry over. There's, I believe, 4 options in there to at least start considering. These are just suggestions and starting points. And we also proposed put in there for a change upon leave of leaving service with the town. So, if you want to talk about that some tonight, that would be great. Any questions? Any thoughts?
So my first thought on the paid leave, I do like the option of carrying over. I'm not sure if the 10 days is too much or too little, but I do like kind of a mixed option of allowing some carry over and then paying out the rest. That way, because I know a lot of times I hear from Public Works, especially in the winter, we could have a snowstorm where they can't just, take a day off to make up that, let's say they need 3 days off at the end of the year. A cash out option might be better for that, but still is fair because they could carry over some and then cash out. The main goal here is to not accrue so much carried over that the town is at a shock when they leave and have to pay out a large amount.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I'm in favor of the payout, because we're giving we're providing, I'm in favor of increasing the amount that they can carry over.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, the 10 days is possibly a good number. We can maybe discuss that if others have different thought. But I don't think the town is in a position to be like their bank to, you know, they just carry over some leave and then cash out the rest. I think we should encourage the guys to use their leave throughout the year and give them a set amount that they can carry over so that, you know, if they want to take a bigger trip or do, you know, whatever they might need their leave for, it's there for them. But I'm just not sure that the town needs to be in a position to start paying out on a regular basis their leave, and where do you cut that number off? And
It's a benefit, and you use it while you're an employee. Yeah, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I like the carryover piece, though. Yeah, I think that's fine. Time.
Yeah, I did that in the past just so that people were, you know, things get hectic.
Wellness.
Yeah, it's wellness.
Exactly.
So, I don't know, if we don't have that, I would think that would be I don't know that anybody would oppose that, and, you know, I think it would be a good idea.
The only thing there is what would happen if there's certain positions that don't necessarily have a 5 consecutive day break. Maybe they get called in for emergencies and such, and what do you do in that case? And that can all be worked out, obviously.
Yeah.
Our consultant can help us
Sure, there could be
wordsmith that
exceptions or whatever, or alternatives in that case. Sure, but I guess the remaining question here is 10 days sufficient?
For the carryover, you mean?
For the carryover, is it good? Should we lessen that, increase it?
That's 2 weeks.
10 days.
It's carryover once, so like you're not getting carried 20 over
You're
the.
not gonna carry
Yeah.
20 over the next
Each
year.
year you could do 10,
But
yeah.
I think if everybody's in agreement there, that'd be a good option to go with.
jumping back to Kevin's thought on 5 days, I've never been in a position where I had something like that, and I wonder what the employees would think about that, especially maybe, say, an employee who had a new child, where oftentimes they nickel and dime their leave because they have to. A child's sick or they need to do something for a child. Could that be detrimental?
The 5 days?
Yeah, I like I said, I don't have any experience with that, but I just wonder what the employees might think of that.
I think it would matter depending on how much time they had too, you know.
Mandatory breaks are usually, you see that in a lot of financial institutions,
Right.
and it's more for the employer than it is for the employee. But
How so? Like,
they're used more often to see discrepancies. And if you have a 5-day break
yeah.
and these 5 days, money's acting different than the 5 days that somebody's there, you got a little bit of a pattern going on.
Well, I'll say this. In my experience, I didn't work for a financial institution. It was strictly wellness because people weren't taking time off, and then people were getting sick, you know, and they were getting burned out, and you know, we had a couple tragedies because people were just so stressed, and you know, they implemented it because it just for employee wellness, you know. So, but I to your point, I get it, you know, like.
Well, does everybody, the staff usually take at least a 5-day vacation?
Historically, yes, yeah.
So, I mean, it's there.
It's already there, yeah.
I mean, they're already doing
We're in a
it.
good.
This is not
Most
mandatory.
everybody will take a full week off
Yeah.
at some point.
But
So,
to Dave's point, you could maybe do like a Friday, Monday, Tuesday, and like stretch a long weekend or something. And it's not technically 5 days off, but you still get a vacation and you still.
Friday.
Yeah. In the past, we
Good for you.
we had situations where we had to do a kind of a reconciliation on vacation time at the end after an employee left.
Yeah, that's why we're having.
that's why we're addressing
Part of
it.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, and you know, it is. it's an expense to any business. I mean, if we're comfortable with 10 days, that's fine, as long as you, I would, you know, like you said, Kim, you can't carry 20 over.
Yeah, I think that would, the difference is there's carryover and there's getting paid for it. And I think Dave and I are both saying we're not super comfortable with getting paid for it.
Right.
The carryover, I think, is fine. I don't have any problem with that. Maybe you're planning a big trip and you wanna take, 12 days off or something like that, I don't know. So, I should know this, but I forgot since we looked at it last. Do we have separate sick leave from vacation leave, or is it PTO?
It's all in one pot.
So
You're all
It's all
PTO.
PTO.
Is it paid once or is it paid throughout the year?
At the end of at the start of your fiscal year, when you started, you get your X amount of days.
Okay.
On your anniversary date,
On your anniversary date, yeah.
which is
Okay.
another option I didn't put in here, but something we can discuss. Instead of having a lump sum of whatever you get based on your years of service, let's say it's 20 days you get on your anniversary. Right now, we're getting that lump sum on the anniversary date. And we could separate that out to where leave time is just split that up by pays. That's how, like, the county does it and a lot of other companies do it. You accrue so many hours per pay and per month that equates to the total amount of days you're used.
Well, the state does that, and
The county does it,
the
a lot
problem
of,
that I see with that, and this goes back to Kevin's point, is that, and there's research that shows this, when people have what we now call PTO, they won't take it because they're afraid that their baby's gonna get sick and they're not gonna have the leave. So if we don't wanna put people in that position, I think we should keep it in the lump sum way, because if I'm only accruing a few hours a month, I'm not gonna take any vacation days if I've got kids, cause I'm worried my kid's gonna get sick and I'm gonna have no leave because, whatever. So there's research that shows since employers went from separate pots to PTO, that people take less leave because of that exact reason. So I would like to keep it, that they get it on their date and then they have it if they need it. I mean, it's not changing anything, what it costs the town. You get the same amount of leave whether you accrue it and it's harder to manage it when you accrue it. I can speak from personal experience. It's a lot harder.
My question about the payout date is, one of the things I want to avoid here is if we make this change, let's say in 5-6 months, that somebody doesn't have to quick hurry and use 10-15 days leave so that they don't lose it at the end of, let's say if somebody's at September and we just pass it in August, I want to avoid those kind of situations.
Well, like I said, everybody's already taken 5 days off, so I don't see why we need to make it mandatory that we do it.
Yeah,
So,
I agree with that.
so, I mean, everybody usually takes 5 days to go camping or cross-country or something, so.
I guess that's enough for the, I guess option 2 would be the.
see, okay?
I mean, if anything, we could say we encourage everybody to take at least 5-day
Yeah.
vacation,
Take a vacation.
but not make it mandatory.
What about D, on leaving service? What are your thoughts on that? We've had that come up a couple times.
Yeah, that's what we were just
since
talking
I've been
about.
here. And you all voted and worked that out, in the 1 or 2 situations that we've had in the last couple of years.
That might be something for our HR director to take a look at.
Yeah, this is kind of what
'Cause
David's talking
I
about.
know when I worked with her before, she was pro-employee, and she did some things that benefited the employees. So I think we ought to let her take a look at it.
But is that D saying that upon leaving service, does that include if they just quit, right? So if someone was to quit a week after their service date started, where they got their leave for the year, we would consider paying them for all their vacation for that year, which I would think we would not want to do or encourage that, because everyone will quit the week after they.
Well, that comes back to the accrual.
That's why the accrual is beneficial there.
Is beneficial.
That or,
Plus, it tends to not build up as quickly if you're accumulating it throughout the year versus on my anniversary, I'm getting 20.
I understand, I worked the accrual for 37 years, I know how it works.
The other thing is the fact that leave time and sick time's together.
Right.
If they were separated, you have earned and then you have allocated. And allocated would disappear at the end of the year if you didn't use it, whereas earned, you could maybe roll over and that would be beneficial.
If you split it up where it's sick and vacation, I believe, and please do not quote me on this, but I believe you do not have to pay out sick time, but you have to pay out vacation time. I believe that is
We
true.
paid out sick time when I was there.
I don't,
Federal doesn't either.
Them.
that's happened to me in the past where I've been paid out my vacation only, but not my sick time. And X amount of your PTO goes into sick and the rest is your vacation.
Vacation can also be fault too, because I have lost.
I mean, I've lost with,
Where the employer did end up not having to pay out vacation.
this is also, what I, and Gary, please correct me, is a general direction for her to come in and say, this is what has worked in the past, and looking at how small you are versus how big you could be, or and so forth, would work best for you. Because I agree with you, if we were to pay out, it would be a substantial on the budget.
and especially right after the anniversary date, you could
make a rule where you only pay out 40 hours of your PTO if you leave.
I think that's probably
Again, I could have put in 25 options here.
the direction.
Wanted to get the thoughts going. I mean, it could be, yeah, just like Dan said, if you leave, you get 40 hours, or you get 80 hours, or you get none, or you get all. It's just up to you all.
I think it's pretty standard 40 hours, but I'm not saying we have to keep it at 40 hours either. So,
It's important.
40 hours with, and/or special approval from the council for that. You can make those exceptions in there to the rules.
It's your standard work week.
Standard practice typically to give 2 weeks' notice if you leave your position. In particular, important positions within the town, let's say somebody had left and they want to leave on good terms and their position is very important, and let's say they wanted to extend the offer to the town to work beyond the 2 weeks to train their replacement. In that particular case, would it be beneficial to offer a payout or something of that nature to entice the person to stay, to train the person that's going to take over?
The one thing that I want to see though, and when we go through this, is I want to see a set policy where we're not making these one-offs for every single person that leaves.
Situation, yeah.
To sit there and say, well, here's our policy, here's what we do for nobody's treated differently, so that if we were to do something, we should put it in writing.
But additionally, what would prevent somebody from saying, okay, I have earned leave time, I'm planning on leaving the town, whether they retire, particularly good terms, let's say they leave on good terms. It wouldn't be beneficial with as small as the staff is for somebody to, per se, burn all their leave time before they go, and then it burdens the rest of the staff. So just something to consider, in fairness to the rest of the staff if this situation would happen.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, when I started, over 6 years ago, I had the help of Frank staying on for a while, and I'm pretty sure we were both being paid. I know I was, I'm pretty sure he was.
but that was approved by the council too.
Right.
You know.
So, I mean, that's a good benefit to have, and it's a, like Wayne's alluding to, there's certain positions that even a 2-week, standard thing is not a lot of time to transition a position, like his or mine or Dana's.
But Frank left on good terms. He told us when he was leaving. We had the benefit of having knowledge that for a while. We were able to hire you while Frank was still here. Yeah, I mean, I would expect anybody on our staff, I would hope anybody on our staff that was in good standings would be the same way. You're gonna, typically, you don't leave, I'm pulling the plug in a week, see you later. I mean, typically you have the time, and I think we would treat any of our staff members like that. If we had the opportunity to get someone here and train, we would love to do that.
Yeah, it's
I
definitely.
think Frank gave us like 2 months, 2 or 3
Yeah.
months.
It was a
Yeah,
good
I know
bit.
it was a while. And again, on the other side of that coin, you could also consider something with these rollovers and payouts, wherever we land, is that it would have to give at least that 2-week period in order for that to be honored. If you're not gonna do that, then I don't think the town should be liable to,
And the 2 weeks aren't the vacation. Like you don't give your notice and say, my last 2 weeks are my vacation.
Usually you don't get vacation once you give notice.
Well, that's true. Come back on, Monday and then,
There's a sort of an ethical responsibility in a power position anyway. So you wouldn't want to abruptly leave a job if it was an important position, to clear that up.
see if there's
And
anything.
when you say she starts the 31st of this month?
31st, or 30th, sorry, the 30th, it's the Tuesday. She'll be here at 9 a.m. if you would like to join.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll shoot you an email as well.
all right, thank you. Not sure I'll be back in town. We're taking Phoenix back on the 27th. So we may be back, I'm not sure yet.
But I have everything ready for our job descriptions.
All right.
Everything is good to go to email to her.
But my recommendation, she takes a look at it and
Okay.
instead of us going back and forth, and like I say, I think she'll be employee friendly.
Well, so are you.
Try to be. Try to
So
be.
just to recap then on the leave, you seems to be somewhat in favor of the option 2 of the increasing the carryover to 10 days.
But also have some stipulation after their anniversary date. If they were to leave, give 2-week notice after their anniversary date or something.
What about the division of sick and
I like a PTO. It's less for staff to have to keep track of. My opinion.
Does that create any?
That's how we've done it since I've been here,
No,
so.
I mean, if we were to track it separate, is it?
I'm sorry, I lost.
In the HR system,
In
is
our
it
system
harder?
in terms of keeping track of people's leave time, right now, it's all
So
PTO.
right now, say if I got 80 hours of PTO tomorrow, in QuickBooks, which is where we track everything, it's then divided up by my split, which is 50-50, and then I generally tried to put at least 1 week of sick time in everybody's allocated sick and or PTO, but we not just make it one great big lump sum.
So there is
It-
two.
it has always been allocated
separately?
like separately, just unwritten rule, but it's not yet. How I
But
was.
to the point though is it's simple to switch
It's
either way.
simple to switch. It's just clumping them all together.
How about accrual? Like how
We
would
have
that be
come up
simple to
with a
do?
system
Okay.
of how you work 5 days, you get X amount of hours in those 5 days, or if you work 50 hours, you get 2 hours. We'd have to come up with something like that, and then we'd have to put it in the system. I'm sure it can be done.
Okay.
As of right now, how it would be done, I don't know. I know there is a way of doing it though.
Dave, do you remember how yours was? It was based,
It was
it's been a little while since I was at the county.
For every
You
hour.
got sick leave and annual leave, but your annual leave amount was based upon the amount of time that you had the service. So I think you got, for the first 4 years, you got 4 hours of annual leave and you got 4 hours of sick leave. You always just got 4 hours of sick leave. And then I think when you were there for 6 years, you got 6 hours of annual leave and 4 hours of sick leave. And then when you were there 15 years, you started to get 8 hours per pay, so 80 hours. You get 8 hours of annual leave and 4 hours of sick leave.
But those divisions then are just split out by pay periods throughout the course of the year. Doesn't matter whether that pay period, you were taking leave or you were sick or whatever, it's per pay period, right?
Now,
When it's
now,
broken down, yeah, that's what I
like
recall.
currently what I have is one bucket, and it's by hours. So if you work, 10 hours, you get 0.2 hours of leave or whatever. But you could do it either way. It's a matter
Yeah,
of.
because
how you-
we have basically tiers of, I'm gonna just call it annual allocation of leave time based on service. So it would be a matter of taking that, just say 20 days, and if we wanted to split and say, 20% of that is, or whatever, a certain amount is gonna be sick, designated sick, the rest is gonna be leave, and then you just split that division up by 28 pays or 26 pays a year, whatever that works out to be.
Again, this is all something that she has the 110% knowledge of and can break it down easy for us and give us an option of how to do accruals versus PTO, just a lump
Yeah,
sum.
we just want to make sure that it's possible, because
It is
if it was
possible.
hard
It's
for you
possible
to
in the
do.
system, it is. It would just take a moment to then fix everything, if that makes sense.
So, right.
It's quick.
I'm sorry.
They have it. It's easy to do, and it's just the
Limit the possible options for us, but it seems like every option is still possible.
Okay.
All right, well, she's, like I said, she's coming in on the 30th, and we'll sit down with her and let her do her thing for a while on it and get it back in front of you guys.
All right. Thank you. Development rights and responsibilities agreement.
All right, we talked about that a little bit last time, and I am a schnorr, so you have all been provided, I think,
PowerPoint.
with the PowerPoint that
It's in
the
there.
county staff has worked very hard on to prepare and propose, well, not so much propose, but to at least show to the county planning commission. Seeing no need to remake the wheel, I got it and I forwarded it to you. It's the same concept that we talked about 2 weeks ago. It's whether the council is inclined to give yourself the authority to enter into an agreement like this with a developer, a property owner, somebody who wants to do something. We dance around it, but the two big projects are the potential of an annexation and the potential of an expansion of the school. Somebody asked me, what's the difference between this and a public works agreement? And I didn't have a good answer then, but I think I have a better answer now because I've actually thought about it. Public works agreement is confected at the end. You've had your submittals, you've had your approvals, you've gone through that process, and a public works agreement then is essentially, this is how we're gonna build the driveway, this is our plan, we're gonna put up street signs. A DRRA is done at the exact opposite end of the development process. If somebody comes in and says, this is what I want to do, and you say, well, this is what we want you to do, and then you're at either in eventual agreement or eventual loggerheads. If the latter, nothing gets done. Like an annexation, you can't be forced to enter into one of these. So I don't know, and I sent it to Gary after I got back from MML, so I don't know if anybody's had a chance even to look at it. It's very PowerPointy, you know. But I thought it was a good kind of an explanation of the things to think about.
This is like homework.
It's kind of in the nature of homework, but it's
pretty quick.
It's an opinionated homework. Do you want to, job one is, do you want to create an ordinance that allows you to do this? Because there's no point in doing a whole lot more work on the draft that we have if you guys, I mean, I'll take your money, that's not a problem for me.
What's the benefit of this, of having this versus not having this and having a public works agreement?
Well, a public works agreement is only done at the very end.
I understand that.
So, the theory is, and I'm not for or again, these, I see them and I know the theory is that it gives both sides of the equation, both the developer and the town, a clear understanding of what the other's obligations are going forward in what generally will be a long-term and sometimes complex project. You're not gonna see one of these, as I said last time, for the 4 houses over there off of Lambert Avenue. These are for big projects. Now, you can, if you draft an ordinance, have a threshold. These are only gonna be utilized at a certain size. Now, candidly, I don't know that that's worth the worry for you folks, because you don't have the physical space for a 1,000-house project or, an Amazon distribution center. It's just not gonna happen here. So the threshold thing is not really relevant. But I think that from a user perspective, I know because I've had this conversation with development people, they like to know that everybody sat down and everybody agreed, this is the project we're gonna build, this is how we're gonna build it, we're gonna build it in phases and we're gonna stretch out the phases and this is how we're gonna do it. Putting together a DRRA is very time consuming and can be contentious between both sides. If it gets too contentious, everybody walks away. But the developer then knows that if 4 of you decide you've won the lottery together and you're moving to Bailey's, the new people can't come in and say, we don't like this project, we're gonna change the zoning, or we're gonna go away, or we're gonna make you do something else.
The agreement's already in place.
Because the agreement is in place. The flip side of that is for the town, for the legislature and the citizens, they also know what's going to happen on that piece of property. They know, and there's public notice required, and the state law has a certain public notice required, but you could require 4 meetings and mock-ups, and you could have one at the site or whatever. You could do all kinds of things that you would want to put in your ordinance of what the developer has to do. And then when you make the agreement, we were talking earlier, the developer has to do X, Y, Z. The developer must get a well putting out X amount per day of yield, and it's got to be certified, and don't talk to us anymore until it's done. So everybody knows, this is the theory behind them, everybody knows how it's going to work.
So Michelle, I see it as a benefit to both parties,
That's-
knowing up
it's
front,
supposed to be.
as opposed to Public Works that's on the back end. So a lot of time, money, and everything can be spent before you really get into some intensive issues. But let me switch what is the drawback to doing one?
Well, the drawback to creating an ordinance that allows you to do a DRRA, I don't think there is one, other than the cost of sending it to general code and having it put in the book. Because again, you don't have to do it. The project may never happen that requires it. A possible development may look and say, yeah, I can come and build what I want to build in New Windsor, but I need to put in a, $5 million wastewater treatment plant.
The one downside that I do see though is by having something that's locked, I could see if for whatever reason the town decides to go with a developer and create this DRRA, and the residents do not agree with that, and let's say there's 80% of the residents do not like this agreement. This whole we're locked into the agreement throughout elections is kind of concerning to me. That there's more power for it's taking power away from the residents in my eyes.
And I understand that argument. I do know that the Frederick County case, the case that changed things in Frederick County, was brought by a citizens group well after the adoption of the DRRA in that particular development, because the citizenry felt that the town didn't get enough in the deal. I don't know whether they did or not, I don't know, but
That's not about the actual process of having an agreement, it's about the specifics of the
it was
agreement.
about the specifics of that agreement, and the court ruled, among other things, that there was not a requirement in the state law that the development had to provide more than it would have been obligated to provide anyway. That's a horrible sentence, but the law would have made them do this. The DRR didn't make them do more. And the court said, well, the DRR didn't have to make them do more. So then Frederick amended their ordinance to say they have to do more. Enhanced benefit is the phrase, but somebody on the County Planning Commission took exception to that phrase, so I'm not gonna use it.
But do you know what happened in that case? Did the development go on?
Oh, yeah,
as
they built it,
original
they
plan?
built it.
Okay.
But the county changed their law to require enhanced benefits, and if I'm not mistaken, and I don't think I am, there hasn't been one since. They also expire. So say, and this may happen in a jurisdiction not around here, but one that I've been reading about. Here's the agreement. The agreement is you get to build X, Y, Z, but you gotta bring in the water. Well, they've been looking, and they haven't found the water yet. So that DRRA, by its own terms, is going to expire at 5 years. And if you're at 4 years and 10 months, you better be either trying to modify it or getting somebody out there with a divining rod and finding that water, because they go away.
Well, does the planning commission have the authority to deal with a lot of this, that this DRRA would, I mean?
Planning Commission's authority is broad, but whether it is broad enough all by itself to require certain things, I don't think it is. Then we've talked about this, is your code has to specify this is what development must do. And your code right now, even though it's not as clear as I'd like it to be, and we haven't really had the issue come up in a long time. There was enough out there, enough capacity to bring in the folks up the hill, as I heard somebody say, ooh, up on the hill. You should start calling it like Knob Hill or something, like you're in San Francisco. So the Planning Commission's authority does not extend to legislating requirements. So if you want to legislate requirements, that's y'all's job. Y'all's job is also doing if you decide to do an agreement, to put that in the agreement.
But we're working on an MOU now with one entity. Wouldn't we also have MOUs with, or whether it's public works agreement or MOU with a developer? Let's just say somebody wants to come in and build 500 homes.
You can, but they're not as enforceable, I think, is part of the issue with that. We also know sometimes MOUs are not that easy to arrive at.
But this isn't gonna be easy to arrive at.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not.
And then the possibility that in the time frame of a developer, or for them to approach us and to build, it could expire.
Well, it's usually 5 years, so.
But that
But
doesn't,
they wouldn't be approaching you after, they would approach you, and then they would say, or you would say, let's do a DRRA, I want one, but you have to have that ordinance in place. So if you want to do one, you have to have the ordinance in place. If they come to you and you say, I don't want to do one, you don't do one. I apologize to you because I can't answer some of these what's good and what's not good questions because my personal legal experience with them is limited to one I have done. And that was for a residential subdivision in another jurisdiction. And we butted heads for quite a while because there were water requirements and those kinds of things. Haven't seen a shovel go in the ground yet, so, and that's a few years ago, so I don't know how that one's gonna
But
work
to your
out.
point in that example where you had a DRRA in the example, and it required the developer to bring on water to X amount of supply. They couldn't find the water, the DRRA expired. You told them at the beginning, 5 years, whatever it is, this isn't happening until you get water. So I don't see the issue of it expiring because the project's dead in water.
Yeah, if that's what it is.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's,
Well,
I think,
depends-
I'm not
If that's what
advocating
it is.
for any more work, believe me. But I think that this is something that would be good to have in place. Now, I also agree that the code needs to be looked at. Now, if you think this is gonna take a long time, the code's gonna take a while.
I know.
And what can be done quicker?
So Will's statement made a good statement about that we're locked in with the DRRA. Are we also not locked in, and I'm pointing over to Wayne, because I'm thinking of, sorry, of the Public Works Agreement. No, I'm thinking of our Public Works Agreement that we do, if we didn't do a DRA, we do the Public Works Agreement. Aren't we locked in with that as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, but to Michelle's point, it's
After the fact.
it's much smaller things that you're agreeing to, and it's at the end of, everything's already approved and ready to go.
But the developer, in that sense though, the developer, if Public Works says you need a well, and the developer says, no thank you, I'm walking away, they walk away, the next developer that comes in, that process has to restart. Whereas with the DRA, it's like, oh, we already had an agreement that the well is there, and you have to do it.
You mean the subsequent
The subsequent
purchaser? It would depend on
Within the 5
it would depend on what your DRRA provided.
Okay.
For example, you could provide that it was personal, if you will, to that one developer.
Okay.
Now, that one developer is gonna say, oh, no, I don't wanna agree to that, because I want the flexibility
So,
of being able to sell the project. So there's a lot of things that can go either way.
But that is a benefit to the DRA in the sense of, I want to make sure that this well site, specifically for water, I see as the most important issue. We know that this parcel of land needs X amount of water. We want to make sure that that has provision in there, regardless of the original developer, or the next developer that they sell it to, or whatever. I do see that as a benefit. But
So,
does anybody remember when Atlee was
76 was annexed
right?
for
So,
a referendum.
again, that had a well drilled.
that was a requirement.
That was a requirement, but when was it a requirement? To getting back to will the PWA cover what the DRRA is gonna recover? Because I've never seen a public works agreement say the well needs drilled. It's already a done deal at that point. That had to be early on somewhere in the review process. And back to the public works agreement, the plans come through, they're reviewed, there's comments, they go back and forth, and we approve the water, the sewer, the storm drain, the road layout, and everything, everybody's approved. That's what the PWA is based on, is those approved plans.
but I have
don't
seen,
think-
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
I've seen PWAs that include, you gotta build a well, you gotta put a pump house in, you gotta, all the stuff that's in the plans. But I have seen that in
I
PWAs.
just didn't know when it
And
was.
do you know,
in the
Mr. Aaron, do
process,
you
was it?
recall? because I wasn't even living in Maryland in 1976.
Of course, we didn't
Was-
have our own planning until the eighties.
Oh, really? You didn't have the planning and zoning authority?
Yeah, because Earl Brewer, I was on the council in '79, and it was after that, so.
So it may have been part of an annexation agreement with, was that Sponseller?
Yeah.
Did?
Yeah.
It might have been part of that agreement that they would put in a well.
So, an annexation agreement, from the last meeting, you said we could, before we annex the property, the understanding is you bring water if we annex the property. However, that's a commitment saying, hey, if you bring the water, you're in, and then we go into a public works agreement with all the required steps along the way. But that assumption is that person is allowed to be within the boundaries of the town, and we have adequate sewer or water or whatever's not negotiated in the annexed agreement. Whereas the public works or the developer's rights and responsibility is more of a commitment on with both parties involved. And let's say it was beneficial to the town to have a well in place that would not only meet their needs, but meet the needs of the town.
Benefit.
It's an enhanced benefit. So if they can't, if that never comes to fruition, that agreement is void. If they can't meet their terms, the other thing with expansion, if it's mutually beneficial, let's say there's more users on the system, they're sourcing the water, they upgrade the wastewater treatment plant, and then the town at that point sees more of the weight spread across more folks, which then in turn the infrastructure's easier to maintain and the costs associated are cheaper and so forth. That's not always the case, but it can be negotiated that way in a developer's rights and responsibility. Whereas the public works agreement is more of an afterthought. Am I saying
I
that?
wouldn't call it an afterthought, but it's,
A later thing.
it's
Part of the process.
it's part of the process, but it is at the end of you finalize, you're right, you have finalized what's gonna happen, and the public works agreement is, this is when it's gonna happen, this is who's gonna pay for it, you know, all of those kind of things. And you get your inspection money and those things in the public works
So many
agreement.
lots per year.
Yeah.
But is the assumption that with
You
the
would
developers?
still do a PWA, I think, if you were doing, especially if you bring in a phased project. You know, this is, we're gonna do 100 houses for the first phase, and this is what we're gonna pay, and blah, blah, blah. Or we're gonna do 4 buildings up a different hill. All of that would be, you would have multiple PWAs a lot of times if you've got a big phased project. I don't think we've had, well, Blue Ridge was done in 2 phases, I think, and there were 2 PWAs for Blue Ridge.
Snyder's was 3.
Oh,
With one
was 3
PWA.
Was 3 PWAs or 3 phases?
3 phases.
Yeah.
3 phases, 1 PWA.
1 PWA, but Blue Ridge had 2 PWAs, because there was a fairly significant time lag between when they did 1 and when they did 2. Because I wasn't even around here when they did 1.
And then, was that one, no, it was, the other one, that expired. And we redid
The first one for New Windsor Heights, when it was New Windsor Heights.
Or became the
and then when it became reserved, we did a new PWA, because we bumped up the connection fees.
Yeah.
So what direction you want from the council to?
I want the council to think about whether they want to adopt a DRRA ordinance. There's a draft.
Yeah.
And the draft is pretty much tracks the, state law. But the PowerPoint from the county does ask some questions about additional things in the draft. Because that's what they're doing the same thing you're doing, Only to have a whole big staff of people working on it. So, that's why I borrowed their information.
Council, one time to look this over?
Yeah, yes, please.
All right.
Yeah, it just was sent out. There's no particular rush in doing this.
No, so our scale right now is based on the spreadsheet the town manager provided in the planning commission meeting. Our wastewater and water capacity is where they are. Actual numbers, actual data. There's no room for growth, within the town. This includes existing properties that wanna expand. Let's say somebody wanted to double in size. Well, if they wanted to double in size, they're not going to.
Yeah.
Unless they bring something to
We're
the
already
table.
addressing that with the school, so.
Right.
we're
Yeah.
Well aware.
Yep.
Somebody wants to expand, they're gonna have to pay for it.
Yep.
Bottom line.
I know they sent it out, but I can't
All
even
right,
find
look
it.
that over.
Look that over, and in the meantime, with your permission, I will also, and Gary and I will talk about this. Actually, Wayne and Gary and I should talk about looking at the code,
But
the
it's
water
not-
and sewer section, and the development of land section,
Council meeting.
and getting some ideas of what needs to be
Okay, that's fine.
updated, because I don't think there's been a significant update to that section in a long time. I remember discussing this with, God rest his soul, Jack Coe. So, you know, we get around to it, and we never did. So, wait, there you go. So that's something that, one way or the other, even DRRA or none, you should update stuff
Alright.
that's way out of date.
Any other old business? Any residents concerns?
No, sir.
No? All right, announcements. You made the posting for the vacancy, correct, Dana?
Yes, I
Now,
did.
I think
Didn't sound
in
like it.
the
Let's confirm
news
that.
release, it had through the 26th of May. It should have been the 27th, huh?
And the 24th.
Yeah, his term,
Oh, May 2026.
no, May. All of our elections are odd years.
Oh, odd years. That was my mistake.
So other than that, but that's when that term ends. Just a real quick note, got a press release today from CMC. Richard Turner, who I think we all know, CMC Executive Director, honored with a National Leadership Award. So if you see Richard, extend your
Yeah, me too.
congratulations. They've done a lot for the town. And National Night Out is Tuesday, August 6th, 6 to 8 p.m. So talk up any vendors that you might know and come out for a good evening.
Are we meeting for?
We canceled the work session, correct?
July. That's, I just want to verify that.
Okay, yeah, because they're not here, right?
So we did not do an ordinance for the open container,
It's just a resolution.
resolution, I'm sorry, for the open container.
Do we need to do that now?
Thought of it today and,
Wait a minute.
okay, so, we may then, if we're not having the work session, we may have a,
Music on the main.
Michelle, we can have a music on the main meeting as long as there's enough council to have a quorum. And we advertise agenda that, hey, we're gonna do this resolution. It should cover it. So we would just need to do a music on the main meeting.
I'm just
I
thinking,
can't wait till the August 6th meeting because I need to have it into the county for the liquor control board meeting.
Checking, I thought she sent me.
I
one.
think I sent,
while
just
ago.
now thinking, I think we were talking about something that needed to be done, and in looking in my file, I saw that one, and I said,
This is gonna need to be done.
it's gonna need to be done. So I mean, it might be drafted and ready to go.
When
And
does that
was
need to
a-
be
A
filed?
resolution, right?
That first week of August, and I think the meeting is either the 5th or the 7th, so I don't think I have time.
It would have been months ago.
Oh, it'd have been this
If
year
we could
now.
do
I think so. Sorry, I should have thought of that when they mentioned it before, but I didn't.
what day were you guys thinking for that music on the main meeting?
Whatever works best for you guys.
We don't need everybody, we just need a quorum. unless we can find it in Gary's, an email that said, while you're at it, here's this other one.
Even better.
That would be great.
What was it, an ordinance?
No, it's just a
The
resolution.
Yeah.
Bear with me here, there's a couple that I,
Could we vote on it
It's a resolution.
verbally?
Can we do resolution 0702-24 to allow for open
Containers?
containers for music on the main?
But I wonder if it was
Make
about
that
the same time as that.
I would second it.
Moving on.
I'm gonna find it. No.
We have every year, might as well not change it now.
Same as last year's. Yeah.
Anything different?
Sorry, computer's slow. Nope.
Did you hear that? We just made a motion, Michelle?
I have heard, because I'm hoping that we can, we
How
can
about
find
last
it.
year's ordinance? Can you find that real quick?
Well, that's what we're,
That's what I'm looking,
just
I'm in there right
On
now.
documents?
Go on documents.
I know, I'm in the
Sustainable.
resolution folder for 2024.
It was done on the 17th of July last year.
Okay. Should be able to find that.
That's why we need your binder back.
I didn't see it.
Of course, we'll find it as soon as we stop looking. Kind of like the deed.
It's the last one we pulled out of the lockbox.
It's not one
It's-
that's
it's
been
not-
s-
it's not
that's
popping
not been
up.
scanned in that resolution.
All right, well then-
24.
Then let's go back to where we were. There is a motion and a second.
To approve resolution 07-02-24 for open container of alcohol for music on the main for October 5th, 2024.
What else is in there? I haven't looked at it in so long. Let's add the same authorization that
In 23.
has been adopted annually since the beginning of the Music on the Main, or 2023 or 20.
I found it from last year.
I correct my motion to
I
use.
just thought I had done it and emailed it to Gary. Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
Do you second that, the amendment? Yep. Okay.
Yeah,
All right, have a motion to adopt resolution 07-02-24. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried.
I'll get your paper, like,
Thank you.
tomorrow or Friday.
All right,
Well, you won't be here Friday.
no, next week. All right. So hear a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Have a nice 4th, everybody.
Are we-